This wasn't really a request. I was just letting you know I will be away for Christmas with my family. It is not my responsibility to ensure there is coverage for my work. That's more in your realm of responsibilities. This was an actual email sent by an employee to their manager. And all the manager said was, I'll have to check coverage on that. And then they posted it on this subreddit, and 2,900 other fellow employees, managers, or manager wannabes jumped in and tore this apart. Now, I've spent 16 years leading teams in the Air Force, and coverage as a leader's job isn't an attitude, it was an actual policy written down in black and white. And nobody ever sent us an email like this, because this was never really about PTO. She's testing him. And most of the commenters on here missed that part. So by the end of this video, you're going to have that response that'll pass the test. So I know when I first heard this, I was thinking kind of like a, who do you think you are? Kind of a response. And I'm curious, did some of you guys feel the same way? Let me know in the comments. But that feeling's real, it's emotional. You can't brush it off. But acting on it, that's how you're gonna lose in this situation, because that's an emotional response. So especially if you fire back over an email, you're gonna hand her kind of the villain story. And then if you cave silently, you're essentially, through that action, you're letting the team know that, the policy is don't ask, inform. Basically do the same thing that this person did. What's interesting in the comments here is the threads kind of split into 3 different camps. And we're going to go over those camps here. And all of them kind of have a piece towards the right answer. So let's jump in here. This first one is in the camp of, it's not the dates, it's the tone. And that's kind of what we talked about at the beginning, right? That emotional feeling that you got is kind of bubbling up to the surface. So you can see this comment here. You can't force someone to show up, and the dates probably aren't even the problem, or the I'm not asking versus I have a conflict on those dates. It's the same information, but it's a totally different relationship, and it's a totally different response too. I really like the last point on this one here that says you can stand your ground without being rude and disrespectful. And I saw a quote today that I thought was interesting and kind of applied to this, is being clear is kind, and having that clarity is a form of kindness. So it kind of relates in this situation. So this next one here still is in kind of the tone camp. You can see they mentioned they've only denied PTO once in 30 years of being a manager. So this person definitely has a lot of experience. And they reinforce it, saying they're 100% pro PTO. They want people to use their leave. I'm in the same boat. I want people to use their PTO. But again, they hit on I would be annoyed if someone came to me with, I'm not asking, right? So the second camp here is kind of what I've grouped together, saying fine, but actions have consequences. So the first one actually kind of gets right to that point. And it's really that last sentence there. Everybody's an adult, and they're both making business decisions with known consequences. I'm a big believer in making informed decisions. Part of the solution here is that communication piece. When does it happen? In this case, from the original post, sounds like that communication happened in December. That's probably too late. This next one, talking about downgrading their importance, is actually probably one of the coldest, to be honest. It mentions not necessarily firing on the spot, but like downgrading their importance within the company and preparing for a future without them. Not saying that shouldn't happen, but I still think that communication needs to happen, clarity needs to happen. up front. So the next one here talks about an unpaid leave day, the documentation side of it, which also needs to happen. So this particular manager lived it and logged it essentially as unapproved leave and a no-show. So it went through HR and they had a meeting upon their return. So that's definitely another way. And the paycheck answer also exists. This one I thought was kind of funny. We had a young kid and he couldn't get a day off, ask, what are you going to do about it? And then was surprised when he was fired. That one is interesting to me. So it's kind of the known or unknown consequence in this case. It seems unknown in this, the person that was fired. The clarity probably and communication probably didn't happen up front. Maybe it did during, I would hope it did during onboarding, but again, a reminder was definitely warranted about the consequences of the what are you going to do about it comment. So the third camp here is kind of a you built this, meaning the manager made their bed, so now they got to lay in it kind of a scenario. This first one says you've had this issue for years. And then it brings up, have you thought about bringing this discussion up in September or October and try to engage them in a collective plan for the holidays, bring the whole team together. In this case, a team that spends September and October in a discussion, no one on the team sends an email like this in December. This next one's in the similar boat. It says it works if you do it in person, having everyone sit at a conference room table and asking them to work it out like adults will almost always have the desired effect. Yes and no. I still think there's potentially some mediation as the manager needing to be in the room, setting some expectations, setting some standards. How many people do you need for coverage? Instead of just blanketly saying, you need to solve this as adults. That's obvious, but what are the boundaries? How many people need to be on shift? Could we maybe have somebody on call? What are the left and right boundaries? So the last part is the payoff. So what do you actually do? This response you see here is a portion of it. So this commenter drafted kind of the formal reply. Notice acknowledged, leave is not approved, pay is not guaranteed. HR, will have an HR conversation upon your return. That is the paper trail version, and that is very necessary, but it's not sufficient. What's the root cause? I'm always looking at the root cause. What is the root cause of this situation that will fix it permanently, not just one time? So the root cause to me is communication and standards. It's a conversation, and there's a 4-move framework around it. So you need to name what the email did, ask what's driving it, and you need to ask what's driving it before you lecture. Then you need to say what changes going forward, and you need to lock in that next step. Then the real fix is having that conversation in September and having it as a team meeting. So coverage is planned out. Everyone knows in the fall what the coverage looks like for December or the holidays, whatever it might be. Maybe it's July 4th, that just happened. Maybe it's Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend, whatever it is, you can apply this to any scenario. And that way, those emails that come up within 30 days, they go away. The email was the receipt, not the crime. The loss already happened months earlier. That's why the title says you already lost. And this is how you win the next one. Now, this employee tested her manager with an email, and she made it very obvious. But there's a version of this that's a lot harder to catch. An employee who's playing her manager so well the manager thinks that things are going great. I broke that one down right here in this video, wherever it is on your screen. Check it out.